over 600 government contracts were cut using an AI tool. This happened in a large federal agency, but some of these cuts were big mistakes. This is due to limited oversight. Plus, we have a lot of federal workers whose data is likely compromised. Sounds like a nightmare. Why is it happening? Let's get into it. Veterans Affairs, or VA, is the backbone of healthcare and benefits for millions of veterans. They run over 150 hospitals and over 1,300 clinics, providing services to veterans from cancer treatments to mental health support. But here's the kicker. They rely immensely on contractors. They have so many contracts going out for information technology, cybersecurity, construction, facility management, medical services, logistics and supply chain, and community care. It costs our government hundreds of billions of dollars each and every year to continue to pay these contractors. It actually costs more money to pay contractors than it does to fund the federal workforce in a year. Here's a quick estimate. Contractors cost over $750 billion a year. The federal workforce is $300 billion. So DOGE comes along with the mission of making everything more efficient, streamlining operations, and they have contracts in their sights. Not just contracts, but also jobs. The VA Secretary announced plans to cut 83,000 employees and return to 2019 staffing levels, and has already canceled over 650 contracts. Now, were some of these contracts wasteful or duplicative? Yeah, probably. Just in terms of statistical probabilities, it being a large number, I'm sure a percent were found wasteful. The VA saying it's all about efficiency without harming veterans. The problem? You have senators and experts that are concerned that all of this is being done with a flawed AI tool. Not just contracts, although we are focused on the contracts, but also when it comes to removing positions and jobs within the agency. And you might end up having a negative impact when it comes to the services that veterans depend upon. Also, you have DOGE's access to sensitive federal employee data that has privacy concerns, that has cybersecurity concerns. An investigation revealed that a DOGE software engineer with no healthcare or government experience built this tool in one day to review 90,000 VA contracts. This was built within 24 hours. The question is, why the rush? What are we rushing for? And the answer is, it's because of the executive order that the Trump administration pushed out. They gave agencies just 30 days to review all contracts. That's an ambitious goal. I'll take it a step further. That is a reckless goal. Why 30 days? You're going to be in office for 4 years. If you could just slow it down, if you could just pump the brakes for a little bit, you would avoid mistakes. Because right now, they're favoring speed over accuracy. Also, the tool was built on outdated AI models, labeled contracts as munchable, meaning they could be canceled. Now, DOGE is saying they had to do it this way with this AI tool because it was not realistic to manually review all of those thousands of contracts given their time constraints. But mistakes were made, and we're talking about an incident where they flagged over 1,000 contracts as being worth $34 million each, when some were as low as 35,000. So it looks like there were some zeros missing in that algorithm, the way that it calculated it. And it's not a small error here. This is a massive miscalculation. And it's even worse because the AI tool, it flagged contracts that were critical to veteran services. One was for maintaining a gene sequencing device used to develop better cancer treatments. Another one supported blood sample analysis for VA research. The investigation has discovered at least 24 examples where the contract was essential for veteran care. Now, the VA, they admitted to cutting over 600 in total, and a lot of experts at this time, they're horrified. Carey, a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, called the use of these AI models deeply problematic. He said off-the-shelf AI isn't as complex to deal with a situation with a problem like this. DOGE, the engineer, the software engineer, he admitted, yeah, mistakes were made. It should have been done better. Now, these cancellations of contracts are already starting chaos. Senators wrote a letter this month to the VA's Inspector General demanding a review. So far, they're finding the majority of these 650 contracts, they are directly tied to veteran care. And it's not just the contracts that are being cut like we touched on earlier. We have people being cut. And even when you're not forcing the people out, you're creating pressure within that environment that makes highly skilled people want to leave. In Illinois, a VA hospital closed its acute care unit to new patients because so many nurses resigned amid the uncertainty. In Orlando, Florida, there's a backlog of over 2,000 unread exams because of 2 specialists that quit. And then in New York, you have dozens of appointments that were canceled directly due to low staffing. These are not just numbers, these are people. These are military veterans that expect and deserve care. And some of them, they don't have the time to wait. Depending on their condition, depending on their illness, they don't have the luxury of waiting more time for an appointment. The VA secretary is insisting these cuts won't harm veterans. They're claiming to target non-mission critical areas. But with over 650 contracts and over 83,000 people that you're cutting, how can you not impact care? This is not the same VA that it was in 2019. This is a VA that now has to deal with the influx of veterans due to the PACT Act. You have hundreds of thousands of more people that depend on VA services now. You can't just promise them one thing and then take it away and leave them to suffer on their own. A VA executive said you can hire a surgeon, but if no one's there to buy the supplies, what's the difference? That shows you how hiring and contracts, they intersect each other. Now, when it comes to contracting, maybe the assessment is, okay, we should do more things in-house. Why are we spending so much? Why are we relying so much externally? Can we bring some of this stuff in-house and do it ourselves? Now, when it comes to supply chain, the answer is probably not. You're going to have to rely on outside providers. But that is an analysis that needs to occur internally within the Veteran Affairs. Then we have evidence that suggests DOGE is digging into federal employee data systems. The OPM holds sensitive data on millions of federal employees and past federal workers in their systems like Social Security number, date of birth, and a lot of things that could be used negatively from an identity theft perspective. So there's a lawsuit right now saying that safeguards were not put into place as DOGE is accessing all of these sensitive records. Earlier this month, a federal district judge issued a preliminary injunction ordering OPM to report within 2 weeks on how it's ensuring compliance with the Privacy Act. In 4 weeks, OPM has to detail exactly what access DOGE has. Not just the level of access, but they also want the clearance level and what type of training have they undergone in order to access this data, in order to be trusted. Because a lot of people are thinking about the 2015 breach that OPM had. There's 21 million records that were revealed. GAO is also auditing DOGE's access to OPM, Social Security Administration, and the Treasury systems. They're looking for any type of digital footprint that shows that records were used, misused, relocated. You have to understand, during the last breach, there was information coming out about CIA officers. Now, the CIA maintains its own records, but if you have somebody that was a federal worker in the past and they submitted an SF-86 and then later they joined the CIA, that old SF-86 might still be on file. And SF-86 is a document that you fill out in order to apply for a secret security clearance. And oftentimes on there, you can find social security numbers, family and friend information, foreign contacts, drug and criminal history, and employment history. Now, after 2019, that responsibility shifted from OPM to the Department of Defense, but OPM likely still holds legacy records. On the other side, VA's press secretary defends DOGE's work, saying that contract review is common sense precedent to save taxpayer money. He insists that every canceled contract was viewed by a VA employee and it was blessed off on, and there would be no negative impact to the veteran as far as the service that they receive. But a lot of critics, they're not buying it. How can you make such drastic cuts? And you're hearing from the DOGE software engineer, he's saying mistakes were made. How can you understand those two things and think, yeah, veterans are not going to be impacted at all? I think it's naive if you think that way. Now, meanwhile, you have the one big beautiful bill, which includes VA cuts in there. That's supposed to be signed on July 4th, but it's hit some roadblocks, especially with the Senate parliamentarian, right? So they're cutting out a lot of their anti-worker provisions, which is great news for workers. But if you find yourself in a position where you're looking for a new job at this point in your life, you're looking to see maybe the private sector, maybe, it could be contracting, whatever it is. If you're looking for a new job right now in 2025, you could be concerned because a lot of people just are not hiring. And recent reports came out. It showed that the unemployment rate, it's a lot higher than what's being reported currently. In fact, in reality, 1 out of every 4 Americans, they're unemployed. Now, you're not going to hear this on the media. You're not going to see this on the news. But that's the reality. 1 in 4 people are unemployed. If you want to know why and what can we do about it, watch this video next. Stay updated by signing up to the free newsletter down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.